Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to a brand new video. It's been a while since I posted actually, and I think you guys deserve to know why. Some people have been asking me why I haven't been posting as much, even though it was the peak of the motorcycle season. And a lot of friends also, when they asked me out for a ride or something, they were surprised when I told them I actually sold the CB650R. So yeah, you heard that right. I sold the CB650R, and I just decided to make a video about all the reasons why I decided to do so, because I know a lot of my subscribers have bought the CB650R because of my videos. They were inspired by some of the content I was releasing about it, some of the POV videos I was releasing with the CB650R, and I think it's only fair that I explain and give you guys the true reason why I decided to sell it. So let's get right into it. Like, of course, there are multiple reasons why I decided to sell the bike. So the first one being just the general lack of time now. Like, I think most of us can relate to that. I have recently started a new business while I still had my old day job. On top of that, I had also some other projects I was working on that were somewhat related to the company I opened. So as you can imagine, having a lot of things on my plate, motorcycles are not really a priority anymore, even though I wanted to ride a lot, especially because it's like, you know, still summer. It used to be summer when I sold it. It was like the peak of the motorcycle season when I sold the CB. I think I sold it at the beginning of August. It just wasn't really, possible to ride as much as I wanted anymore. And even though I didn't have the time, sometimes I just found myself just grabbing the keys and going for a ride, even though I don't have the time to ride my motorcycle. And I was literally like sacrificing my focus and my energy and my time to ride motorcycles, even though I had other way more important responsibilities. And I just kind of figured that as long as the bike is going to be in my garage, I'm not gonna get anything done really. So I think motorcycles are important to me, but not at the cost of, let's say, my future and my focus. So that was really like one big reason why I decided to sell it, just because I don't really have the time anymore. Plus, I had to invest a lot of my financial resources into the new business. And as you can tell, if you do like serious mileage on a motorcycle, it tends to be pretty expensive, I would say, just like the gas alone. And then you go places, you eat, you spend money, and then tires, oil changes, stuff like that. It's not that much, but it does add up. So I just figured out a way to spend that money a little bit smarter. Now, the second reason is a bit, let's say, more important, and probably why I really sold it. And that was just like the ergonomics and the comfort, as if you have seen a lot of my past videos about the CB650, you know that I'm somewhat on the taller side. I am 194 centimeters tall. I think that's 6'4" for everybody who prefers the Freedom units. And the bike is not really a perfect fit. It's just too small. I'm way too cramped on a motorcycle. Now, don't get me wrong, this was all fine as long as I was riding like 3-4 hours at a time. But as I gotten into motorcycles more and more, as I started riding seriously like almost every single day, and I crossed that 20,000 kilometer mark, my favorite thing became just like sitting on a bike and traveling, going for a few days somewhere, and exploring new places I haven't been before. And just like getting to the best roads in the Alps, best twisty roads in the Alps, riding through the coast of Croatia, and just like exploring places I haven't seen before. And it was like so much fun. And I just caught myself a lot of times doing 500, 600 kilometers per day. And as much fun as it is, the CB is not really made for that. Especially if you're a taller person, you're really going to feel it. And it's not that I cannot pull off these 500, 600 kilometer rides in one day. It's, pretty possible. You're going to have some pains and aches here and there, like I did. But, the problem becomes on the next day. If you want to plan like a multi-day trip, like 2, 3, 4 days of riding, and you do like 400, 500 kilometers every day, things are going to get very painful. And I tried it a few times on the CB650, and it always ended up just being really miserable. Like I would enjoy the first day of riding, but after that it's just, not really possible because you're in too much discomfort or pain, and every kilometer you do becomes miserable. So yeah, the discomfort was, on longer rides was pretty much the reason why I sold it. And yeah, that's it. Me being cramped on a motorcycle was also pretty awkward sometimes, especially because my legs were so cramped on a motorcycle. Like I had the biggest problem with my legs. And it was sometimes really hard to reach the shifter at a time when I needed it the most, and the rear brake when I needed it the most. And just kind of found myself adjusting myself on a motorcycle all the time. And I never had this like one set position, because if I wanted to shift gears, I kind of had to adjust my whole body a little bit before I reach the gear lever properly. Now, like I said, it's not that bad if you're gonna do it for a few hours, but once you do it the whole day, you really get tired very fast. Okay, the next reason, which is not that significant to me, is like the lack of power. And it has 95 horsepower, the CB650, which is a lot. You don't need more than that on public roads. I think that's the perfect amount of power. But after 30,000 kilometers that I've done on this motorcycle, things start to get a little bit boring, especially down low in the RPMs. And like one of my favorite things to do is just like go into these twisty mountain roads. And when you come into a hairpin, you almost come to a stop. Basically, you're doing like 30-35 kilometers per hour, right? And you go down into second gear, sometimes even first. And accelerating out of that hairpin, most of the time I fell into these like very low RPMs, where the Honda doesn't really have that much power, and I just had to wait so long before the power kicks in. You have to rev it out. And by the time I rev the bike out, I'm already at the next hairpin. So it was kind of not boring, I would say, but just like less engaging, because at the beginning I found that very helpful because I could never give the bike too much throttle. But as my experience grew, I wish the bike would have a little bit more grunt down low. So yeah, that's also one of the reasons maybe I am going to consider another bike. It's not the reason I would sell the bike, because it's still fun when you rev it out. It's a beautiful inline-4 engine. But yeah, it's just like something I want to point out. It becomes a little bit, let's say, boring having to rev out the bike constantly to get out the power, because in some situations, like in twisty roads, for example, and you're going uphill, you cannot really rev it out as easily, and that's one area where I maybe had a little bit of a problem with, but it's not that drastic. It still has 95 horsepower. It still has enough power that you can use it for everything you want. But yeah, I just felt like mentioning that. So what's next? So to be honest, I haven't really thought about that much. I think I'm going to get the motorcycle for sure next year in the 2026 season. What motorcycle that will be, I don't know yet. So all I know is that it will have to be a lot bigger than the CB650. The seat height is going to have to be bigger. It's going to have wider, taller handlebars, and that's about it from what I know. I haven't really done that much research, but I have looked at some interesting motorcycles that I could be sort of getting into. I really like this new CB1000F concept that came out earlier, like last year, I think even, or this year. It's like this retro version of the CB1000 Hornet, but it's still a naked bike. It's still on the smaller side. So when I looked at a lot of these naked bikes, they are still somewhat similar in size to the CB650. Like they're all somewhat similar. Like a buddy of mine, he has a S1000R, the BMW naked bike. Like it's basically a beast with like 160, 170 horsepower or something like that. It's crazy. And it's not that much bigger. I sat on it. And he also sat on my CB650, and he said that it feels pretty similar to his BMW. So that, kind of confirms it. And I'm kind of like thinking I will have to look at some other bikes than naked bikes, which is sad because I really like naked bikes, and I will have to do some compromises, I guess. Sports bikes and naked bikes will, pretty much feel the same as the CB650. They will not be as comfortable on longer rides, and I really want to do these long rides and travel a little bit with the bike and do these multi-day trips. So yeah, I don't really know what to get. I'm still somewhat young, so I think maybe getting an adventure bike or something like that would not be my thing. The selection of adventure bike is pretty it's not really interesting to me, because most of them are like twin cylinder bikes, either V twin or parallel twin bikes, and I really don't like that. So a bike that would kind of do it all for me is the BMW S1000XR, but that bike, if I get it brand new, is over 20,000 euros, and I think that's a bit much to spend on a motorcycle. I don't know if I would be really able to afford it by next year. Maybe, who knows? But it's just like a lot of money to spend on a motorcycle, on something that I consider just like a luxury, a passion. So yeah, I will see. But it really seems to me like the perfect bike. There are some compromises on the look side of things, because it does look like a touring motorcycle, like a dad motorcycle. But yeah, it's basically an inline 4 super bike with relaxed ergonomics, which is definitely a cool thing. That's pretty much it, guys. What I wanted to say. We just wanted to clear some of the things up of why I haven't been posting that much, what's going on. And I never really thought I was gonna sell the CB650. I always thought I'm just gonna get like a second bike and keep the CB650 as a fun a little bike that I'm going to modify, put like a cool exhaust on, do all the bells and whistles around it, make it look really sick, and then use it for like these like short, blast rides. But I don't really enjoy those shorter rides anymore, like at all. All I really want to do is, go somewhere really far and see as much as I can in one day on a motorcycle. And the CB is just like not made for that. Don't bite my hat off, please, guys. I know a lot of you guys are in love with this bike as much as I am, as much as I was, still am. But it's a great motorcycle. It's so beautiful. Like the engine is just a peach. And yeah, I honestly I do miss it. But I know that as soon as I would sit on it and go on a ride for a few hours, I would just be in pain, and it's not that comfortable. It's really not that comfortable for me. By the way, I sold it to a really cool guy. I met him when I sold him the bike, and he's a beginner, so it's his first bike as well as it was for me. So the story continues. I hope it serves him well. He seemed really happy about it, that the bike was also in pristine condition. There was no scratches on the bike. I never dropped the bike, never had any accidents with it. So he was really happy about getting that bike. I think like I gave him like a fair price. The bike was also very well maintained, and before I sold it to him, I gave him like a full tank of gas, wished him luck. He even took a picture of me and the bike before I sold it. So yeah, it was somewhat of an emotional experience selling the CB650. But yeah, it just like wasn't for me anymore. I had to make a decision, and that's it. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, like maybe a little bit of a different new video. I will be making content in the future for sure, especially when I get my new bike. And I want to know your opinions in the comment section below. What bike would you buy if you were me? I obviously am biased towards naked bikes with inline 4 engines, inline 4 engines in general. Guys, take care, and see you soon. If not this year, then maybe next season. So yeah, take care. Ciao.